Rain slicked the streets of Beverly Hills on the night of August 20th, 1989, turning the quiet, palm-lined avenues into dark rivers of light. It was the sort of storm that made even the grandest homes seem haunted. At 722 North Elm Drive, the Menendez Mansion, a Spanish-style estate with terracotta tiles and arched windows, stood behind iron gates, its lights glowing faintly against the downpour. Inside, Jose and Kitty Menendez, a wealthy power couple, were finishing a weekend evening. They had spent the day at the movies, then settled in their den to watch television. It should have been a routine Sunday night. Instead, it became the setting for one of the most infamous murders in American history. Shortly after 11 p.m., the quiet cracked apart. A 12-gauge shotgun roared inside the home. The first blast struck Jose as he relaxed on the couch. Another followed, and another, until his body lay riddled with wounds. Kitty ran for her life, slipping on the polished floor, but the attackers pursued. She was struck once, then again, until she collapsed, her final moments filled with smoke, echoing thunder, and the smell of gunpowder mixing with the storm outside. When the shooting stopped, the mansion was silent except for the patter of rain against the windows. Hours later, a frantic 911 call broke the calm. Lyle Menendez's voice, tight with urgency, pleaded for help. "Somebody killed my parents." In the background, Erik sobbed. The recording captured what sounded like the raw shock of children discovering their parents' bodies. To many, it was the sound of grief. To seasoned detectives, it carried a subtle note of performance, something just a little too controlled. The initial investigation followed the obvious leads. Jose Menendez was a prominent entertainment executive, known for his sharp business instincts and aggressive corporate style. Detectives considered whether a disgruntled colleague or a rival might have ordered a hit. The scene, after all, looked like a professional job. No signs of forced entry, no ransacked rooms, nothing stolen. But weeks passed without a credible suspect. The case, once expected to be a quick solve, began to stall. Then investigators noticed something unsettling. Instead of retreating into quiet mourning, the Menendez brothers embraced a lifestyle that raised eyebrows. Lyle bought a Porsche, expensive watches, and a restaurant in Princeton. Erik hired a personal tennis coach and traveled to tournaments in Europe. Their spending topped hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of months. While grief can take many forms, detectives found it difficult to reconcile their lavish spree with the brutal deaths of their parents. Whispers from friends and acquaintances added to the unease. The brothers' relationship with their parents, particularly their father, was rumored to be tense and at times volatile. Jose was known to be a strict and demanding patriarch. But tension alone wasn't proof. The investigation needed something concrete. It arrived in the most unexpected way. Inside a therapist's office, Erik Menendez, burdened by guilt, began sessions with Dr. Jerome Oziel. During one of these meetings, Erik confessed that he and Lyle had murdered their parents. But the secret did not remain sealed. Oziel confided in his mistress, Judalyn Smith, who, fearing for her safety, went to the police. With her tip and recorded tapes of Erik's confessions, detectives finally had their breakthrough. In March 1990, the brothers were arrested. The spectacle that followed would grip America for years. From the first day of the trial, television cameras turned the courtroom into a national stage. The brothers, clean-cut and somber in matching suits, did not deny their role in the killings. Their defense, led by attorney Leslie Abramson, was startling. They claimed years of emotional and sexual abuse at the hands of their father. They testified that Jose was controlling and violent, and that Kitty, struggling with her own addictions, turned a blind eye. The murders, they insisted, were not driven by greed, but by terror, an act of self-defense against parents they believed would kill them. The prosecution painted a different picture. Deputy District Attorney Pamela Bozanich argued that the brothers executed their parents in cold blood to inherit an estimated $14 million fortune. The evidence supported careful planning. They had purchased shotguns 2 days before the murders. They bought movie tickets as an alibi and carefully hid the weapons afterward. And there was the spending spree, which prosecutors framed as proof of motive. The Porsche, the luxury clothes, the overseas tennis trips. The trial became a cultural flashpoint. Viewers across the country debated whether the brothers were victims or villains. The defense's allegations of abuse shocked many, challenging assumptions about privilege and the facade of the perfect family. But the prosecution emphasized the brutality of the crime. Jose shot point blank while watching television. Kitty struck multiple times as she fled. The killings, prosecutors said, were executions. Key courtroom moments kept the nation riveted. Jurors heard Erik's own voice on the therapy tapes, trembling as he admitted pulling the trigger. Forensic experts described the pattern of shotgun blasts in chilling detail. Neighbors recounted the sound of gunfire puncturing the storm. Each witness deepened the tension. Each piece of evidence sharpened the question at the heart of the case. Were Lyle and Erik desperate sons or calculating murderers? After two separate juries deadlocked in the first trial, the case was retried in 1995 with a single jury. This time, the judge limited the defense's ability to present evidence of sexual abuse. The strategy shifted back to the hard facts: ballistics, confessions, and financial motive. Without the emotional weight of the abuse narrative, the prosecution's argument struck harder. On March 20, 1996, the jury returned its verdict. Both Lyle and Erik Menendez were guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence. The brothers showed little outward reaction as the judge sentenced them to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For many Americans, the verdict settled the legal question, but not the moral one. The Menendez brothers had admitted to killing their parents, but whether their actions were driven by fear or greed remained a matter of fierce debate. Outside, a thin drizzle began to fall, as if the storm that started this tragedy had returned to close the circle. Reporters packed their gear while the brothers were led away in shackles, their faces pale under the harsh courthouse lights. The Menendez mansion was later sold, its walls stripped of the secrets that once echoed within. Yet the story refused to fade. Documentaries, television specials, and countless debates continued to revisit the case, searching for meaning in a crime that seemed at once both shocking and painfully human. Even today, decades later, the Menendez murders still haunt the American imagination. They are more than a story of wealth and violence. They are a mirror reflecting the hidden fractures of family life and the dangerous power of fear and desire. The question lingers, unresolved and unsettling. Did Lyle and Erik kill to escape, or simply to inherit? Somewhere behind prison walls, only the brothers know the answer. And on nights when the rain falls hard and the streets of Beverly Hills gleam like dark glass, the memory of that August storm whispers a single chilling truth. Sometimes the deadliest storms begin inside a home long before the first shot is fired.